Welcome to Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. On this podcast, we bring the conversation to you, sharing engaging stories that motivate and build consensus in the nonprofit community. This podcast is about the innovators, the leaders on the front lines of adversity, guiding lights in the nonprofit industry affecting change. And through their stories, we can all join forces to become Civic Warriors. Hey, Warriors. Welcome to today's episode of Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. I'm your host, Brad Caruso, leader of Witham's not-for-profit practice. Our guest today, Larry Abrams, founder of BookSmiles, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that is distributing new and gently used children's books to children and families living in underserved communities. The BookSmiles mission is research shows that early literacy sets the stage for a child's future success by promoting academic achievement, reduced grade retention, higher graduation rates, and enhanced productivity in adult life. Since its inception, BookSmiles has promoted literacy and the joy of reading by distributing more than 1.7 million books to Philadelphia, New Jersey children and others who need them the most. By diverting these used children's books from going to landfills, BookSmiles provides millions of books with new life. Starting in infancy, children living in book deserts can build robust libraries of their own, inviting academic success. What I loved about learning about BookSmiles is that they are unique in their approach. And many of you probably have not heard of a book bank before. There's other types, you've heard of food banks and other things, but obviously reading and education is super important to our children in the future and current times. Larry's bringing life to something all children should have access to. Having two children myself, I know the power of reading and learning to read. And the first step in that is access to books. With that being said, Larry, welcome to the show.
Well, it's so good to be here, Brad.
So with that said, how did you generate the idea to be the founder of BookSmiles? What was the catalyst behind it?
BookSmiles comes from a place of me being a career teacher. And towards the end of my teaching career, I had a conversation with one of my high school seniors. And she was a teen mom. And she had a baby at home, a little over a year old. And one day I asked her, "What are you reading to your baby?" And she replied, "Well, I'm not really reading to her, Mr. Abrams." And I said, "Why aren't you reading to her?" And she said, "Well, she's too little to understand." And then I went into parent-to-parent mode with my 17-year-old student and said, "Look, when I read to my kids, they were out of the womb. And when my daughter was a year and a half old, she was kind of reading back to me. She remembered the stories." And then my student wistfully looked at me and said, "Mr. Abrams, that's very nice, but we don't do that in my culture." So I'm a high school English teacher, and my student just told me this. Where do I go? I wasn't about to preach to her. I had to go home. I had to think about it. I had to process this. And I decided to do a book drive, and I put out a very simple call on Facebook and said, "Look, I'm collecting books." I'd long since donated my children's books to the library. And I said, "Look, I'm collecting children's books. I want to distribute to students in my district," which, by the way, is about it was an 85% free and reduced lunch district. And the response was overwhelming. I got so many books just pouring into my front porch. So not only was I able to give to my student, but I was able to give to other moms in my school. I was able to give to the elementary school kids across the way. And I felt so good doing it. And finally, Brad, I've been in touch with my student, and she says that her daughter is a reader. She loves language arts. She is smart. And she is going places. And that is the proof. This confirms that it is important, as you said, to give people access, to give parents access.
Yeah, and you just changed one, and that's the catalyst. But obviously, the number of lives you change just by this idea, I think, is phenomenal. And kind of building on that, what's a book bank? And describe your facility. I know our first meeting, you showed us around on the FaceTime. Can you talk a little about that?
Okay, so kind of like Ray Kroc in the early 50s, no one had really heard of McDonald's before or fast food. I am pleased to tell you and your audience what a book bank is. And like a food bank, a book bank is a facility, often warehouse size, which is what the BookSmiles Book Bank is. We're 4,300 square feet. And we collect hundreds of thousands of books every quarter. And we sort them. We make sure that Only the best are boxed and distributed to the teachers, to the nonprofit partners, to anyone else who can help us irrigate book deserts. The books really are free. You don't have to pay to get the books. What you have to do, though, is find children who really need these. You need to be able to find children who don't receive books as gifts. And if you can help get them into the hands of these precious children on a massive scale, as Share Food Philadelphia is doing, as Philabundance is about to do, 2 noted food banks, then you really do need to talk to us.
Love that. Talk about what makes your operation unique. You described a few things to me, and I think there's so many things that you do well. Talk a little bit more about what makes your operation unique.
Okay, so I have a confession. I am a hopeless creative, and in the morning time, my brain is a furnace, and I love innovating and making stuff up. That's the stuff that propelled me as a teacher. So we put a lot of that stuff into BookSmiles, and being unique is very, very important to us. So what makes us unique first is the way that we collect books. So I started this kind of bin program where we'll take a kind of mundane toter bin, the kind that are normally used for trash. We'll paint these things with bright colors and we'll put our logo on it, and we'll install them in high-end places where there are families, book families that go by. And we make it kind of a fun way for families to deposit bags of books. We have a bin boss. I can't do it all alone. So we have bin bosses check in on the bins, and they harvest the books because we irrigate book deserts. I like to use farming language. We're planting seeds. And what they do is they take the books back to the book bank, and then we distribute them to kids who really need them. So that's one way that we're unique. Another way that we're unique is that we also take grown-up books. And we have a way of going into estates when people are downsizing, when a book lover passes away. Where do their books go? Well, rather than call up, like the junk guys or, estate cleanouts, people are calling us. And I tell people that we're able to translate their books into revenue to help us meet our expenses. And it's always fun engaging people on that level. We also are unique in that we purchased a 16-foot box truck. So with that said, we're able to go to schools all across New Jersey, all across the Philadelphia area, and on into the main line. And we're able to collect hundreds of thousands of books that children collect during their school book drives. So there you go.
Yeah. And I think that, kind of leads into the next, you're fulfilling a need that wasn't traditionally there, or that might have been lacking, especially in book deserts in different locations that may not have direct access, may not have a library, may not be able to get to a library, whatever it might be. And part of the reason probably why you started this, but why do you feel that there was what have you identified, I guess, that says that there is such a lack of access or distribution of these books? How prevalent is this, I guess, when you think about people in need of reading materials?
Okay, so again, this is coming from a place of years spent teaching kids who live at or below the poverty line. I've taught foster kids. I've taught kids who have grown up really hard. I don't worry about that stuff because I can't change that stuff. What I can change, what we can change, is the geography of what a child's house looks like. We want to make sure that the books are installed in the rooms, into the baby's rooms. And when that happens, the child will look at books as they will look at toys, and they will pick them up. And if they're lucky in some families, they get read to. If not by parents, then maybe brothers and sisters who go home with the books. The point is, I don't let poverty serve as an excuse to access. We are innovatively installing libraries into the homes of kids living in book deserts, period. And we want one day for them to become book donors themselves.
Yeah, and paying it forward is certainly, that's a significant part of the model. You're paying it forward, and then families there down the line will pay it forward. I can completely resonate having a 5 and a 7-year-old, knowing that when we're not reading to them, there's a lot of distractions in life, and it is a very conscious effort that takes place to do that. But once they catch on, you see the spark in their eye of it catching on, and then all of a sudden they're like, Dad, can you read this to me? You're like, sure. And then brother's reading to sister. And then, my daughter now teaches her stuffed animals in her education class that she teaches at the age of 5. And, but it takes that catalyst. And obviously one of those catalysts is you need to have books and have them in the room so they can see them and so they can access them and they can go off the shelf and say, Daddy, read this book to me. I don't know what it says. And you also then, that secondary effort is if someone can help read it definitely brings it home. But it's an everyday thing. I will say that, my kids definitely struggle a little bit with reading, just if we were not actively doing it. And as you said, people get busy. There are times where I'm like, man, I really wish I did more of that.
But when we make it a habit, we become our habits. And so if you condition kids even before the age of 5 and they go to kindergarten reading ready, that is set. That is important. And that's what I really want to teach others. Again, I'm a career teacher and I want to teach others to share their book wealth. Our kids are good. Like you, I raised 2 kids. They always had great reading scores and they certainly had excellent teachers, but they had a good foundation at home. And that is the secret sauce right there.
Yeah, without question. And I love what you're doing and bringing this idea to light, because it is not an often talked about topic, but the most important thing that you do is teaching your kids to read, because a lot of other things spawn from there and a lot of other development activities go from there. And the earlier that happens, the better. And just the bonding moment of the reading, I think, is the other, aspect of that. I never really put any thought to it until it happened to me. I never really thought like, oh, I'm going to read to my kids when they're, you just thought it just happens. And to some degree it does. But that was definitely a great moment. And now I look forward to it. Like I love it. My daughter's like, my son's like, hey, read this to me. I'm like, sure, love to. Like I love doing that. So Larry, talk to us about the numbers. I love hearing, I'm an accountant, so I love hearing about statistics. And when you think about the volume of books you're handling, because it's an impressive number when you think about the number of books you've distributed. What does that flow look like? How many books do you have you brought in? How many have you distributed? What does that look like?
So since I started BookSmiles in 2019, I started working out of my garage. And back then I was moving approximately 5,000 books per month. That translates to about 2 pallets worth. We now are moving between 60 and 85,000 books a month here in the book bank. That is anywhere between 30 and 40 pallets worth of books. Since we started, we have distributed nearly 2 million books, because those numbers really add up. I was a high school English teacher, and these are numbers that I'm not afraid of. I like to celebrate them. I like looking at them. Also, numbers that make us unique is that we have very low costs to distribute these books. It costs approximately 40 cents for us to harvest our books, to sort them. We have a lot of volunteers come by. That's how I keep costs down. And volunteering at the book bank is a joyous thing. We package them and then distribute them. So on average, the book costs, after all the salaries are paid and the rent, is only 40 cents per book. So when somebody donates $1,000 to BookSmiles, well, that enables us to move a whole lot of books. We generally avoid buying them new unless they are diverse, or we love buying new Spanish bilingual books. Those are rarely donated. But really 99% of the books that we donate are what we call upcycled books that are diverted from a certain death in the incinerators, at the pulpers, in landfills. We want to get these books into kids' hands. Do you have more questions about numbers?
What's the most common book that that comes through the facility?
The most common type of book is what we call picture books. So we categorize baby board. That's first category. Picture books is the second. Easy chapter books are the third. It's Geronimo Stilton, Junie B. Jones. Then we have harder chapter books. A lot more words on the page, but they're still for kids who are innocent. And then we have upper middle high school. And oftentimes that includes like some swearing, some violence sometimes. These are, like Harry Potter. These are books with intense themes. The most common types of books that we get donated are the picture books. And we love, love, love when people donate the baby board books. We can't get enough of those, and the demand is very high.
Important for our audience listening. Obviously it's important to know what's needed out there. And I think that's important that you highlight that. Larry, what's your favorite children's book?
I can't, it's kind of like children. I can't think of one, but I have been asked this question before in the books that I loved when I was a kid. I loved Curious George. I loved Harold and the Purple Crayon. I loved Mike Mulligan and the Steam Shovel. Never got tired of that. And I used to watch Captain Kangaroo when I was a kid in the 70s. And I loved it when Captain Kangaroo read. And then the next generation came on. Your generation is reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton. I was all grown up then, but I loved when Captain Kangaroo read.
Awesome. Earlier on when you talked about, the beginning of BookSmiles, you obviously, told a personal story. Any other stories you could share, you'd be willing to share on impact you've had coming more to recent times? Obviously, distributing nearly 2 million books has a significant impact, but, from what you've seen and heard, and I'm sure people are vocal about thanking you for the efforts, but any recent stories you'd like to share?
Yeah. You know what? I'm thinking of one that happened just last Friday. I hadn't seen this woman in a number of years. She runs a nonprofit called the No Breaks Project. She does a lot of her work out of Camden. But I hadn't seen her in a few years, and she was back here in the New Book Bank, kind of looking around, thinking of getting involved. And she told me that, Oh, the Places You'll Go was a book that really turned her entire life around, and it got her serious about reading. And little did I know then that was her favorite book, but I remember giving her a whole stack of Oh, the Places You'll Go. I actually pull those from the general donations because that is my thing. And I love stacking them up and then periodically giving them away in a raffle to educators who will follow us on social media. But anyway, Tom Mitchell told me just how much that meant to her and how she was able to continue to spread light, sharing her favorite book among the kids that she serves. And it got pretty emotional. And, that's just one story. But I have hundreds.
I love hearing them. You mentioned your heavily volunteer-run organization in the sense that, it obviously takes a lot of effort to sort books, to categorize and distribute them. When you think about BookSmiles itself, what help do you need from the public? And I guess how do you interact with the public when it comes to the collection of books and the distribution? What areas do you feel that the organization would benefit from help from others?
So certainly small donations are great. When people find one of our book bins, and we have them on the main line, we have them in South Jersey, and we have a couple in Princeton, and we even have a couple in North Jersey. It's a very big state. So when people go onto our website, booksmiles.org, and look for ways to put their books into one of our donation bins with all bagged up, we really appreciate that. When people mail them to us, and our address is on our website, we have gotten cartons of books from all over the country, cartons of great children's books. It's only $20 to put your books into a box and send it to us, which is great. We have a BookSmiles ambassador program, and this is where you want to knock it up a notch. And we have a couple teen volunteers and older volunteers, because older people can do this well, who get this. They dedicate a portion of their garage. They get onto social media and they announce far and wide that they are collecting massive amounts of children's books. The books then funnel into their garage, much as it did in my garage back in 2017 and 18. And when they get a critical amount of books in one of our large cardboard shipping containers, We will then dispatch the truck and we will pick up 3, 4, 5,000 books at a time. That's what I need. I need people to go onto our website and realize that books are a precious commodity and we need help collecting these beautiful children's books. That's how they can help.
Love it. And you mentioned, making a donation to the organization. Best place to do that is on your website.
That is absolutely true. Listen, I am a retired high school English teacher. I'm not a professional fundraiser. I am convincing people to donate to our cause, and we are able to sustain ourselves, but to take it to the next level, to eventually open a book bank in Philly, making it a big book bank that is able to distribute 2 million books in 1 year and not 7 years as it's taken us now. That is the dream. That is the goal. So we're always looking for people who will invest in us, people who believe in philanthropy, book lovers who really get us. So if you know of anybody who can be a generous funder to one of the few book banks in the nation, please give me an email at larry@booksmiles.org.
Love it. And you mentioned a couple of social media sources that you operate on. You're on Facebook predominantly, or on a few others?
I am on Facebook. Facebook really helped our start. I joined Facebook in 2007 or 8, like a lot of people did who are my age. So we have a very robust presence on Facebook, but we also have we're about 5,700 followers, and we're about 3,000 followers on Instagram. And we're building a TikTok base, and I have plans to create a YouTube channel as well, because we really have this beautiful formula that is so easy to replicate. People can start this in Detroit. People can start it in, Portland. We need more book banks, because book banks will then get the books into the hands of kids who really need them. Yeah,
which obviously is the overrunning goal that you're bringing to light here and being so gracious to share with everyone. You've been around for a little over 5 years. Where do you want to take BookSmiles in the next 5 years?
So within the next 5 years, we want to certainly remain in South Jersey, but opening that Philly book bank is very, very important. There is so much work to be done in Philadelphia, so many kids who need books. So that's one way to do it. The other goal that I have is to make this almost like a default kind of thing, where if people have children's books, by getting our brand out there, they're going to get the books to the BookSmiles book bank and not the other big box thrifts. We need not just a few people collecting books in their garage as we have now. We need dozens of people collecting books in their garage, much like the Girl Scouts have cookie moms. Well, listen, let us into your garage for a little bit, collect books, and you will experience this great joy. I'm also interested in opening up a book bank in North Jersey, because to tell you the truth, we have people driving down an hour and a half, 2 hours to come to the book bank in South Jersey. And that's ridiculous. I don't want people to be able to do this. I want to be able to give them a beautiful product up in North Jersey. And finally, the other hope is that other people who love books and love the idea of irrigating book deserts will follow our model and create book banks all across the nation. But to address your question, I'm not smart enough to grow it nationally like that, like with a brand or franchise BookSmiles. We have so much work to do right here in the Philadelphia and New Jersey region.
I'm not so sure. I think you're very intelligent, and I think you've created a model that others are going to model after. And whether that's you being the one having a facility in another place, or someone else says, Larry, I want to do that too. What can I learn from you? And they'll listen to this and they'll say, I'm going to start my own. That's impact. And I think that's where the not-for-profit community comes in. And your dedication, time, effort, ideas, knowledge, and all the books that you've already turned around are going to make a huge impact, and already have, and will continue to do that. So, I wouldn't sell yourself short, because I think this idea and you've already put it in practice. It's a known model. It works. You have many, as you said, hundreds of impact stories. That's what this is all about. And I think I appreciate hearing more about what you do. I appreciated hearing more about how you're approaching this. And honestly, it's from a point of care, and it's from a point of, you wanting to see the best for the next generation. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your story, Larry. It's phenomenal to hear it. And, I loved learning about your operations.
Well, today was a pleasure and delight talking to you, Brad. Thank you for allowing me to open my mic and share this. And thank you for amplifying our mission. And I hope to eventually meet you face to face one day.
Without question. And Warriors, thank you for listening. Appreciate your time today. And as you've heard in this episode, books, literacy, education are so integral to our future generations, and providing access to those that wouldn't otherwise have it, providing the gift of reading to the next generation of children is so important to driving our society forward and giving people a better life. Hear Larry's story, check out their website, donate if you can, and really just think about this episode. Think about the impact that Larry's having and the impact you could have by making a donation of books that are probably just collecting dust on a bookshelf that someone else could enjoy. So don't take it lightly, and definitely check out their website, check out what they do. But thank you so much, Larry. And for all you listeners out there, subscribe and meet us right back here for another episode of With Them Civic Warriors in the near future.